There you go. What we're going to do today is called the social atom. And social atoms are just tools that we use to in psychodrama and sociodrama. Sociodrama or sociometrics is just the measurement of human relationships. So metrics is measure, socio is social. And so one of the ways you're going to do is a sociometric drawing of a scene that you choose from your life that you would like to or feel you need to, or just, you know, for fun. It could be, well, a scene that you would be willing to portray here in this room with the class. And it sounds weird, you're probably already confused, so don't worry about that, because there's no preparation needed other than just bringing yourself and being here and being prepared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple of pictures, or show you a couple of pictures of our sociograms. They're called sociograms because if you think about it, or social atoms, because the atom of the family, like in our family systems model, you know, it's like a system. Like atom of is like a I don't think it's up there now. It's covered over up by feminism, of course. The social atom is just a metaphor for the atomic picture of an atom with all the pieces are floating around it. It's a 3D, and what we do on the paper is two-dimensional, and then we create we bring the two-dimensional and make it real, or real at least in play acting. And so it provides a way for you to step out of the picture, having somebody step in for you, and look at the picture from all different sides and there's a million things you can do with it. So what some people do are dreams, what some people do are childhood scenes, some people do our future, is past, present, future. Like I think I described a wedding that was someone was going to have, and she was all nervous about a mother-in-law or something like that. And so she set up the whole wedding. We had a lot more people in the class, but she set up the whole, as she saw at the wedding scene, that her fear, she set it all up in the room, and she was able to confront the fear. So you can portray people, fear, things. There's not any limit to it's just your imagination, how you want to do it. And we use our imagination, you use yours, and other people get to be a part of that. So a social atom, what we have is kind of like on the genogram, they have their own map language. Okay, so in the social atom, the triangle's a male. Circle, female. Nice thing about it's pretty simple. And then things are usually squares. And I'll show you examples of all this. You can also use things as, you can use any symbol you want as long as you can explain what it is. The idea here is that you're kind of doing a schematic of the scene so that you can describe it, and it helps you to describe it ahead of time before you set it up, because then you have more of an idea. And then the thing is that you, after you set it, as you're setting it up, it may totally change. So it's just a kind of a preparation for whatever does happen. And then you can connect the objects in your picture. So a straight line, solid line equals solid connection. A dashed line is a conflict, conflicted, and you can decide what that means. It's not up to me, up to anyone else to interpret how you're doing it. And then sometimes we use a dotted line for ambivalence. Ambivalence is what poor psychology students have to get used to in my classes. because I'll tell somebody to do something, but I won't give them all the directions. Directions are up to you. So ambivalence is, I'm really not in it or out of it. I'm kind of in it with you, but it's not maybe not feeling that connected, but not feeling kind of conflict either. Maybe just not connected, but maybe a little bit. So this is ambivalent connection. Okay, and then like I said, you can add to all of these if you want to. It's just a way to do this. So first one I did over here is me at about age 8-ish. Is what I'm imagining that it is. With you guys back there so far, it might be hard to see. I should have had you all stand up here, but that's okay. This we'll start with me. I always start with me when I'm doing the picture, just because, to draw the picture, because that way then I put everything around it. It's all about me, right? So you gotta have me. And it doesn't have, you don't have to be in the middle. You put yourself, if this was a page out of your life, you put yourself in that page where it feels like psychically accurate. That just means it feels right. Seems like I'd be down here. Seems like I'd be up here. Seems like I'd be over here. And then, because you can move yourself in here after you set it up. So it may not be accurate, but it's how you think it is right now. And it's all part of a process, actually, when you're doing psychodrama, where you actually get into we get into movement and all that stuff. What we're doing is called a sculpture. That's all the assignment is. And that just means it's sort of a freeze frame picture. And I give you a little bit of leeway within that to explore. And I, as the director in psychodrama, I'm the director. So I will keep you safe. I will make sure we don't do anything that's going to, like I was saying with Anna when her mom came, I was feeling a little nervous. Okay, and quite often, people don't lose it when we do psychodrama, but when we do one of these sculptures, just looking at the sculpture, people will have feelings. And I start to get nervous because I'm thinking I may have opened up Pandora's box and not have time to, not here, we're not in a retreat at on-site that I can help you live with that, have somebody at night to help you, but that's what you have to trust, that I know that I would stop. We would stop, and that when we stop, it stops. I have ability to do that, and I don't want to scare anybody either, because I haven't lost anybody yet, guys. It's okay. You guys, where's your sense of humor? Okay, and the other thing is, remember all of our guidelines, confidentiality. Whatever we do in here stays in here unless somebody peeks in the window and they're not going to know it. They're going to wonder what the heck. Everyone, you listen before you speak. Everyone's voice is heard. To practice honesty, empathy, not sympathy. No means no. So if it just starts feeling too weird for you and you say no, we'll find another way for you. Okay? But I've never had that happen. I've had people resist a little bit because they're scared or they're feeling feelings for the first time in that situation. So start with me in the middle. This is my mom. My mom and I had what I would call a very close relationship. It wasn't sexual. It was, but it was very, I think my dad and her never, I think they sort of drifted apart over the years. Not that they weren't, she was always helping him on the farm. She helped him move equipment, she cooked, she did everything that a farm wife does. But our relationship, I always felt, was special. Like I was her baby. And I came along late. I was 10 years and 8 years younger. I just spent Thanksgiving with my sister, who's the only one left. My brother passed. My sister's husband passed. She's 70. Think about having a sister that's 70. I never thought that seems weird to me. So, but this is my mom, and we had a really close relationship, and I know she spoiled me And my dad didn't really stop that, other than he taught me how to work really well on the farm. I was a good worker. I didn't know you could tell somebody you can't not tell your dad you're not going to do it. I just did it. But so my mom and I are here, and I kind of put her overlapping me. We're kind of merged together a little bit. And remember too, that's just my perception. I don't know if it's right or wrong. There's no right or wrong. It's just kind of my perception of how I thought it was. So that's what's nice about this. It's just what is. And tomorrow I might feel totally different. Okay. This is my dad. My dad's out here because I felt a little distance with my dad, and I feel strong relationship with him, and ambivalent relationship as well. My dad didn't have many feelings. Not that that means I didn't. It just, he worked. He was kind of a workaholic. Because on a farm you work till the work is done, but the trick is the work is never done. And so, but I put him out here. Then I put my sister Pat right here. She's kind of overlapping me. She was my guardian angel. She always made sure little Bill wasn't being picked on at school. It was a very small school, so something happened on one end of it, she would have heard about it. Sure, I got to hang out with her and her friends. She always just really doted on me, probably like my mom to a certain extent, except she had her own life. And then I'll get to that in a minute. And then my brother, Mike, I put him even further out. He was 10 years older than me. When I was 8 years old, he was probably going to college, leaving the house. And so, I was with him. I grew up in the same household with him, but he had his own thing going on. He was really nice to me. He gave me a lot of stuff that he didn't want anymore and that kind of thing. And he was a kind man, kind brother. But we weren't that close. And then I had a grandpa who married into the family, my mom's side, my mom's mom. And I was brought over there. I get now that my mom had to go do something, and she didn't want she was in clubs and stuff. So my kid, I was brought over there and left at Grandpa's house, and Grandpa was awesome. We played Chinese checkers. We played. There's a card game that he used to play. I'll think of it in a minute. Not Rook. Rook. He taught me how to play Rook. Just all kinds of games. He liked games. He loved playing. He was just a kid at heart. And of course, he was retired. He was older, and so he had time. We always had milk and cookies, so that's kind of a sweet spot. And then my grandma's over here. She's passed away, but she's there. But even when she was there, she was kind of distant. And if you saw a picture of a portrait of her mom, you would have maybe kind of got a reason why she was distant, because that woman looked like an Iron Maiden. She was severe. And my dad said that my grandma's sister probably never got married because grandma's sister, her mom probably ran off all the suitors that she would have. So she was a quote old maid. And my mom and I went over to her house a lot, made sure she was okay, and visited her. So I did all that. Okay, so then I put out here, this is the farm. The farm encompasses everything. The farm, there's nothing else really. My dad didn't really believe in sports much, because I think when he was growing up, he didn't do sports because you were needed on the farm. Everybody had to chip in. They didn't have all the mechanical helps and stuff. So. But he didn't discourage me from doing it. It was just, okay, go ahead. And it wasn't like he was pushing me into sports. And I didn't do a lot of sports. My brother-in-law played tennis later on, so I learned to play tennis. And so I tried to do tennis. Anyway, it's a long story. And then these little squares here are my bulldogs. I raised English bulldogs, and they were my friends out on the farm. And then this is 4-H. I was a member of 4-H. And then this is the church. My mom and I were Christians. My dad didn't have much time for it until he was like 80, 78, 79. He got saved. But And what my dad and I did share is he was a rock hound. And so I'd go with him on his little rock when he had the ground all tilled up and we didn't have to do he didn't have anything that pressing to do. He went rock hunting and he took me. And I used to go out and I'd get bored hunting rocks, but I'd love chasing lizards and snakes and all that stuff. So I always had a collection of that kind of stuff. And then, so that's it. That's me. Okay? So that's me about age 8. There's another scene that I started this morning. I think I was probably about 8. Here too. This is, of course, this is me. And this is my mom and me. And I would have had a straight line. I forgot about the line in there. So we're still very close, and I would have had probably the dotted line in here, the dotted line. The rocks, I'm solid, I'm dotted up here. With as far as knowing him, he didn't always share a lot. He was a good man, just didn't feel that close. So this is the farm. My brother's gone to college. My sister's gone to college. I remember there was a window back here, and actually before this scene happens, I remember standing at the window when they would come back home. They'd come back home from school, and then they'd leave. They'd get ready to leave, go out in the car. And I remember standing there and crying that they were leaving, just sobbing, because I think I just felt so alone out there without them. You know, my dad was working and my mom was busy, and so, and then in this same living room where this window is, I put the window in there. You maybe can't see it, it's yellow. I remember this scene where my dad and mom, I had told my mom that I wanted to go do bag groceries at the local grocery store. And this was not my dad. My dad said no. And I can remember him saying, no son of them have an argument. They never argued, ever. I couldn't remember, I'm not sure they ever did other than this that I knew about. And I remember this is me, I would have made me even smaller because I felt really small. And they were arguing because my dad said, no son of mine's gonna, and it wasn't like I could go bag groceries. The guy that owned the store let me bag my own, my mom's. And he always encouraged me, say, yeah, he's going to be a good bagger. And I just wanted to do that. I just thought that would be so cool. And my dad on the farm, he worked on the farm. He was paid me good money if he did that. So I had started working and helping him. So that's and then, and I remember just really being scared because I'd never heard my parents. And I remember feeling, my mom was arguing with him and I was feeling really, gosh, that's really cool. My mom's arguing with him and standing up for me. And then I remember her caving. And when she caved, that's like, yeah. So here I am, stuck, farming. Okay, so those are those are 2 scenes I might do. But what I want you to understand is that to you, those are probably not that big a deal. Okay, and they're not that big a deal to me either. I mean now. But there was a time in my life when these things meant more because I hadn't really thought about how that might have affected me. And again, psychology is not so you have an excuse for your behavior. It's because I want to grow. I want to get, if there's anything in my life that's holding me back, I don't want to blame my parents. I love my parents. I miss them every day. They're both passed on. But there were times in my life when, I didn't have choices. That just kind of like when you're born on a farm, it's kind of like being born into wealth, even though we weren't wealthy in that sense. Because in wealth, you don't get to choose a lot of what you get to do. You're there to carry on the nobility of the farm or the company that your family runs. And you're not really allowed to make your own decisions. Your school's going to be picked for you, and I didn't have that, but that's just a for instance. And so, like, even when I went back took my wife, oh yeah, third wife back to Greensburg, Kansas, and she was Bill B's third wife back there. And everybody knew who I was, everybody knew my dad, parents, family, but she was Bill B's third wife. And she was never really accepted, and nobody would be totally accepted unless they were married into it. So what I want you guys to do, what I'm going to have you do today, is I'm going to give you a piece of paper. You're free to do more than one, but I would like you to at least start one picture that you can imagine you would like to portray here. And what we would do with this is I would pick somebody to be me, and I'm going to wait till we have more people, hopefully by Wednesdays, more people get back. So I'd pick somebody to be me, and I would place myself wherever I am in the picture, and then we're building a sculpture, right? So I would pick somebody to be my dad. I put my dad wherever I think that is, and I might have him stand on a chair because he's big to me. And then I'd have my mom, and my mom would be right by me. So you see what I'm saying? You set the scene, and as you're setting that, I help you do that and talk you through it. So you don't just run, you don't want to go. You want to take your time and think about it as you do it, and let yourself have whatever comes up. And the idea is to have an experience that what some people do is, I've had people do traumas, and not so much in here they didn't do it, but at on-site they'll do a trauma that they had as a child, and what it allows you to do is experience it as an adult. You're an adult now compared to that child, and it gives you a chance to say what you would have said had you been able to stand up as an adult, or to say what you wish you'd said, or to think about what can I do? Because a lot of times people are trapped by their trauma and they don't think there's any options, and this gives you some options. So you actually, because if you can change it in your head, you've changed it. Okay, it's not that you ever, like I lost a child and I've done stuff around my child's death, and it's not that will ever be a thing that won't hurt, but now it doesn't hurt me as bad as I can manage it. I manage it better because of some amazing things that happen. So I'm hoping that all of you get the amazing experience. So, and of whatever it is. But if it's just we do the sculpture, okay, go sit down, that's an A. So don't have to worry about grades on this as long as you are willing to try. Okay? Any questions? Because sometimes I go so fast. And I'll be here to help you with, because I've done my pictures, so I don't have to take time to do that. So I'm going to leave the paper here in the room too. So if somebody thinks of a better scene and wants to come up and fix it, or you don't even if you don't do it on paper, you can always do a different scene. This is just a warm up to what we're going to do. Okay? The nice thing about this is you're in control of it.